Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel. I don't know what episode number this is because I'm currently on vacation, and as of recording, I don't know what order these are going to go up in. So, hi. How you doing? Is your day going well? So, we're here to discuss G1 and the issues that we have currently in whatever G1 branded toy line you want to aim your eyes at. So the strategy that Hasbro has employed for a long time with Transformers is to use the vintage classic characters that fans love and will eat up every time they release them, but also try to make them look like really cool toys for kids to buy. That way, when they see them in the toy aisle, they don't care that it's, a 40-plus-year-old character. They just care that it looks like a really neat figure. The issue with that is that we are still using vehicles from over 40 years ago that are supposed to appeal to children who have never seen them and may have parents who never saw them. So we're not really targeting them very well. And frankly, these are very dated vehicles at this point, and I do think it is absolutely high time to give modern vehicles a chance to be Transformers as well. If we're looking for what to do with Transformers as a whole after we get all of these completely show accurate versions, modernization is an obvious way to go. So let's just kind of explore around and see what alternate vehicles we have. So for instance, Bumblebee, you can't be the Volkswagen Beetle forever. I mean, especially because it's discontinued. I think this is, I want to say 2018 was the end of the Beetle, 2019, somewhere around there. The Volkswagen Beetle has completely ended production. What you're looking at is the final iteration of the vehicle. And honestly, I think doing just one Bumblebee toy out of the modern design is absolutely like a loving tribute to that vehicle. And I think this is a great candidate, right down to the black striping at the bottom. I think this is perfect. Now, if you are, for instance, looking for a vehicle that's still on the road and still being manufactured, that still kind of hits a similar note, I might suggest the humble Mini Cooper. No, I'm not biased because I drive one. Shut up. Either way, I think these are pretty close. I think this gets across the vibe of Bumblebee, and I think would still fit in like a sensible take on his robot mode. I do want to point out, I'm fully aware that the licensing behind this is an absolute nightmare. I am not suggesting specifically that they get these exact models of vehicle, but we're still basing Bumblebees off of the VW Bug. We are still basing Optimus Primes off of the flat-nosed Peterbilt. And these are vehicles kids aren't going to be aware of, so I don't see the harm in seeing the new versions and going, let's make a take on that might be more recognizable to kids, might be a little bit more current, modern, maybe even adult collectors would be more interested if we actually did these up as current, modern, really cool-looking vehicles. For instance, this is what a Peterbilt looks like today. This is a rolling mountain. This thing looks absolutely incredible. I would absolutely be down for an Optimus Prime who looked like this, heavy and ready to go. Now, granted, it's a lot more bulk than Optimus Prime normally gets, but hey, I like a bulky Optimus Prime. I like a chunky Transformer in general. I could absolutely see this being a completely reworked Optimus Prime. Maybe not even requiring the windshield to be the chest. There's so much bulk to work in there. I don't even think you use the rear for the legs. I think that just becomes like backpack kibble at that point. But no, this is a serious vehicle that looks really, really cool. It looks really powerful, which is the whole point of Optimus Prime. This is the kind of thing I would love to see more of. We kind of got that with the VNR Optimus, but that was a specialty thing, and we haven't really seen them lean into that, and it's a shame. The other shame to this is that I couldn't do much with Decepticons because so many of the vintage Decepticons are objects rather than vehicles. I wanted to stick to year one for this list because this could go on forever if we did everybody. If people like this, we might do year two, maybe year three, though that one's much more difficult because they're all futuristic. Point being, there's only so many directions we can go with for the Decepticons for this video, so I'm sticking to just Starscream. And you think it's the F-22 because that's the one that's in the movie, but no, that's not what it would be. Modern would be the F-35. This is expected to be the bulk of the Air Force for the next many decades. And okay, yeah, it's not a bad-looking jet. I mean, it really isn't. It would hit all the same notes of your traditional Seeker, and it has a much more modern aesthetic to it. So it would kind of be similar to the movie. Like, really, like, I'll be real with you. I'm surprised that the F-22 hasn't already taken over Starscream in generations, given how well known it is from the 07 movie. But you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm just surprised. But this is a modern take. This is a modern vehicle that still would hit all the notes of Starscream. I think this is completely fair to think, yeah, this would be nice. We could have this, surely we could. If we look a little bit deeper, let's go into like Jazz. And I think Jazz is one that would have been far scarier a few years ago. But thanks to Rise of the Beast, we know that Porsche is playing ball, being nice with Transformers again. So we do know that this would be on the table. So here is a Porsche 911 GT3. And it's a gorgeous car. Absolutely gorgeous car. Hits a lot of the same notes as the original Jazz figure. However, like a lot more aerodynamic, a lot more streamlined. It looks really, really pretty. Oh, and design-wise, it has already got a stripe running down the middle. You just need to make that blue, trim it with red. You're good to go. You're absolutely good to go. But this is what I mean. It's like this, like you have like a look of the vehicle mode right there. And that's fine. It's all well and good. But then you take a look at the modern one and like there are some really significant differences. And that's the kind of thing that I would love to see a modern figure try to emphasize. That way we can get like a more contemporary take on the original G1 cast. And it doesn't seem so dated and old, right? Speaking of, let's keep going, because we got a lot of these. I basically tried to fill out most of the original year one Autobot cast. I only skipped the mini-bots for the sake of time. Okay. This is an easy one. Now, technically, if you're going to update Hound, you'd probably make him a Humvee, because that is the military replacement for the Jeep, and he is supposed to be a military-style Jeep, but a contemporary Jeep would probably fit better amongst the Autobots. These days, they're far more covered up than the original, which would be a lot easier on the engineers for a brand new Hound toy. That way they don't have to work with this like convertible look the original one had, the topless. And that also means that the character himself can have a little bit more bulk than he did before. Like, this is a little bit weird and scrawny in the wrong spots. I'm always a little bit annoyed by how low his shoulders are sitting. It looks very awkward and unnatural. There's a few shots in the original animation that look hilarious because I try to duplicate that. But no, I think this would give him the room to actually stretch his shoulders out a little bit. You know, there's space for size and mass here that he really needs, I think. Speaking of size and mass, we talk Trailbreaker. Now, you know I love me some Trailbreaker. However, there is a pitfall to doing modern vehicles that are well known, especially to kids. And that is the wrong kind of vehicles getting chosen for a project like this. You know, like the fears it would be this. God, no. We cannot let a Transformer ever become a Cybertruck. It's just, it should not be done. Much less Trailbreaker. Let's be clear. This vehicle can't go on many trails without stalling in the first place, and it's not breaking anything. I have seen this truck lose to a plastic fence before. This is not a tough truck to represent a veteran, like hard-edge character like Trailbreaker. No, you stick to his origins like we do with a lot of these. You go with the Toyota Hilux because vehicle is mildly invincible. Like genuinely he should have carried the name Ironhide, because frankly, yeah, these things are like, have you ever seen the Top Gear episode of the Toyota Hilux? You can't kill these things. They just keep going. They can look like a zombified shamble of a corpse of a vehicle. It will still run better than the car you're driving now. It's not fair. It's not fair. But no, like in G1, he is the de facto pickup truck. Like a covered pickup truck, like a camper cover, that's outdated. That is very dated. You don't see that anymore. But just make him the black pickup truck, because that suits him best. And yeah, this is just a really nice looking truck. I'm not a truck person, and I think this is a nice looking truck. How about Mirage? So this is pretty easy. We just go with like the standard of Formula One car that we have today. Today's Formula One cars are a little bit longer, a little bit sleeker, and a little bit narrower, and they look way sharper and way cooler than the original one did. Don't get me wrong. As far as like how cool and unique a vehicle mode is, Mirage has a lot of G1 characters topped. He just looks really, really nice. But we've done so much to the engineering profile of this particular vehicle that an upgrade, a modernization of him would be absolutely awesome. Now, some of these we did get thanks to Transformers Classics. The one in there is a far closer cry to a modern F1 car than the original from the 80s. And this would kind of hit the same notes. If that meant that Mirage had to go back to being kind of a thin, lanky boy, I honestly would not mind that. Not every Transformer needs to look like they're built, with cement bricks. We can have like some lanky boys in there. We can have some body variety going on, and that's not a bad thing. We've seen Mirage rock that in Classics. I wouldn't mind seeing it come back if that's what they had to do for a vehicle like this. Either way, a modern one, please. A modern Mirage, please. Would look so cool. Let's move on to Sunstreaker. And again, it's really easy to just go, well, just make him the modern version of his vehicle. Okay. So that would be a modern, a 2025 Lamborghini. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. Revuelto. The yellow one. So the weird thing is, this really doesn't suit Sunstreaker, does it? Because Sunstreaker's identity in that vehicle mode, I feel like, is tied to the customization, that big exposed engine in the back. I feel like that is intrinsical to his vehicle mode identity, to the point where this looks weird, doesn't it? Even though it's yellow and black, and in the way that doesn't confuse you with Bumblebee. In that way, this really would suit Sunstreaker. However, it just looks too simple. It looks too smooth. It looks too clean. I shouldn't say simple, because there's a lot of sharp edges, details going on. It's a really cool looking car. But that said, it does look a little bit too clean to be Streaker. Now, for those curious, this is what it looks like in red. And I'll be real with you, it probably looks better in red than it does in yellow. But again, lies an issue. In vehicle mode, these two don't really look alike. They don't look alike in robot mode either. So, modern Hasbro would repaint the two. Why would you get the same vehicle and just have different robots come out of them? That's valuable. That's valuable engineering budget. So instead, they would probably just be repaints of each other. You might get like a 2008 Universe trick where they could be either or. But I think the better goal here is to start seeing the bigger picture. I don't think we can stick around having the exact same characters coming from the same molds anymore, because if we're modernizing things, that is going to force a lot of separations. At some point during this week, we might talk about Transformers who need to separate from being retools of each other, because there's quite a lot. But in this case, there's a few we can count on here. And I think this is where it begins with Sideswipe, because let's take a look at that Ferrari SF90. And that's also a really, really pretty car. I would really not mind if we just kind of like shifted him over to another expensive supercar. That way they can still have like similar profiles in vehicle mode, but definitely be different beasts from each other. Please? I think that would be cool. We can flip it around, make this one yellow, and make the Lamborghini red. We can do that too. Similar in separation, that starts with Ironhide, because frankly with Ironhide, if you're looking at a van, you're not going to get a vanette replacement in the US as a modern vehicle. You have to go to like a modern van, and honestly, even those have been redesigned in recent years to be more aerodynamic and more interesting to look at than just a big box on wheels. So this you could technically get away with. Not that a van is ever going to be like the kid's first choice in toy car, but at the very least, there is something to this that I could actually see them getting away with. Yellow stripe down the side. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. But that does mean, what do you do with Ratchet? Because you can't just paint that white, put a replacement for a red cross on the side, and call it a day. No, like, modern ambulances are giant boxes being towed by trucks, because you need to fit an entire emergency medical room inside the back of that. And this is what people would expect out of a modern ambulance. It's why Ratchet looks the way he does in the movie, even though, like, they didn't like the white, so they went with bright green, and that's supposed to be, I don't know, better? I don't know. Point being, this is what your Ratchet would have to be. So you wouldn't really have a choice. You could absolutely not paint this guy red and call it an Ironhide. No one would care. No one would like it. In the same vein, I don't think that van I showed you for Ironhide could pass for any kind of ambulance. I don't think it could. So the separation is forced here. And I think the same thing applies to Prowl, because that Datsun that he turns into, like, okay, even as a pursuit vehicle, it's just not a police car anymore, is it? Like, it's a two-door. If you arrest someone, what do? Throw them in the trunk? No, like, this is a cop car these days. Like, cop cars are SUVs. Like they are heavy performance vehicles. And that is kind of what you would have to go for if you're going to modernize Prowl of all things. But that means, like, what happens to the repaints, the retools? What happens to Blue Streak and Smokescreen? I think instead of going straight into, like, what to do with Blue Streak, you start with Smokescreen. So here's a BMW M4 GT3 Evo. It is gorgeous, and it is a modern rally car. And I think you start there. You give Smokescreen priority as far as just being a rally car, and then you take this down and retool it into something that's more street legal looking, you know? Like, subdue the spoiler a little bit, you know, like, obviously mute the paint job into silver, and that's where you get your Blue Streak from. So rather than taking the base mold and retooling it until it looks like a rally car, we're doing the opposite. We're taking a rally car and then we simplify it later on to become the Datsun, or at least the replacement Datsun. I have one more for you, and one that I didn't think I'd actually find a good equivalent for, but oh my god, something came up that actually shocked me. So, our fine inventor Wheeljack would like to have a modern vehicle mode in 2025. Now, Lancia doesn't really do race vehicles anymore, from what my admittedly brief amount of research turned up, and frankly, their modern vehicles don't really hit the same notes, like, at all. So I had to go a little bit deeper. I had to dig a little bit further. What I found was a kit customized vehicle by Chimera Automobile, and this is their K39, and that's Wheeljack. That is just straight up Wheeljack. It is technically Martini Racing in the deco, but you take that off and you turn that blue into green. That's Wheeljack. That is a modern Wheeljack. And just like the original Wheeljack, it's technically a one-of-a-kind car pretending to be in disguise. So yeah, I had to go to a bit of a custom car, but hey, at the very least, a well-known one amongst automobile enthusiasts. But it does work. It is definitely like a starting point for the modern take on Wheeljack. So, that's what we have for the list. Basically, Transformers needs to do a lot to stay relevant, and one of the things that I think they failed to do is update the vehicle modes because they're so committed to staying accurate to the original. But we've had decades worth of toys that did that. High time we got something fresh, and something that modern audiences might actually recognize and think looked really, really cool. So, those are the ideas for the day. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and as always, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.